Hey party people. In this video, I'm gonna go over with you the books that you need to study on your own fashion design, illustration, and garment construction. And I know, this is a lot of books. And you don't need to buy all these books. You absolutely do not. Some of these are double. You know, I have two really good tech design books in here. You should just buy one, okay? So don't worry about that. But these are the bare necessities. There's so many wonderful fashion books out there. You know, I love fashion books. I have a lot of fashion books. But this is like the bare essentials, you know, the absolute necessities to get started on your studies. If you want to buy any of these books, you have two options. One, I have an Amazon storefront with all of my book recommendations, and all these books are on that list. That is an affiliate link, so I do make a tiny bit of money off each sale when you use my link. The second is if you don't want to support Amazon, and that's fine, they're not my favorite. They're handy because I get to put all my links in one place, but if you don't want to support Amazon, that's fine. You can just take the information and go buy it somewhere else, because I'm going to have the titles and authors of all these books in the description box below. And if you want more in-depth book reviews, go ahead and check out my book review playlist where I do that. This one we're just gonna blast through. These are the bare essentials you need to get started on your studies. All right, let's take a look at these books. Anyone studying fashion design can use one good fashion design basics book like this one, Fashion Design Course. Is it the best fashion design book in the world? I don't know. I haven't read all of them. Is this a very solid, good design book that will teach you how to create portfolio projects and talk you through fashion design process? Yes, it is a good book. So check this one out. This second book called Fashion by Design, it's a bit more academic. It's a little geekier. It deep dives more into design elements and principles that help us become better designers, better at creating visuals. I highly recommend this book as well. But I would start with the fashion design course for the basics. And for anyone into Knitwear Design by Carol Brown, top-notch book, yarns, stitches, different kinds of knitwear, avant-garde stuff, more commercial stuff, interviews, and just tons of pretty examples. Fabrics are so important to fashion designers. The Fashion Designers Textile Directory is fantastic. There is a newer edition. There are newer additions to some of these books that I'm going to show you today. So expect different covers sometimes. It's okay. Get the newer one. This one is super fantastic. Also good as Fabric for Fashion, comprehensive guide. This is all about natural fibers, both protein and cellulose. Really fantastic. Lots of examples, lots of vocabulary words explained. But really, the best book is their Swatch book. And you can buy these separately. If you can only buy one, buy the Swatch book. Nothing teaches more than touching examples of the actual fabrics with correct labels on them like this one. I would buy these two together before I bought the book. Claire Shaeffer's Fabric Sewing Guide, it's an oldie but a goodie, you know, and it goes through different kinds of fabrics and goes over what tools you need to sew them the best, planning, cutting, how to lay out, just all these tips and tricks on how to work with different specific fabrics. Super fabulous book. I still consult this all the time. Technical Design, Complete Guide to Size Specification and Technical Design, and the Spec Manual. These are both great. Just get one. You don't need both. This helps you with figuring out specs, drawing flats, filling out your tech pack, all that good stuff. They're both good for that sort of thing. I like the Complete Guide just a tiny bit more. It has more information. And yes, both books go through like children's wear and menswear, you know, different categories like that. Now, if you want to start your own business, you need the Vendor Compliance Handbook. And it is exactly what it sounds like. It helps you with all these forms, labels, legalities in how to have a garment making and selling business. Pick one pattern making book to start. I love Patternmaking by Dennic Chunman Lo because of the visuals. This author pairs tons of visuals of the patterns on the dress form so that you're really seeing how these flat patterns correlate to a 3D body. And this is so helpful for beginners. I really, really recommend this book, especially if you do have a hard time visualizing why pattern shapes look the way they do and how different dart placements work differently on the body. Patternmaking for Fashion Design by Helen Joseph-Armstrong. There's a newer one, I know. And this one is great because there are patterns for every design variation under the sun, like dozens of collars, dozens of sleeves, and illustrations for so many of them. These illustrations are done by my old illustration professor, Catherine Hagen, or one of them anyway. And it's just great. So honestly, I would start with the first book, Patternmaking, to really get a handle on pattern making philosophy. And then when you want to start branching out into pattern making a lot of different styles, then this is the one to grab. This one has children's wear, swimwear, just so many categories, so many different styles, jumpsuits, just so many styles. It's a huge book. I think something like hundreds and hundreds, like 800 pages, 700 pages, something like that. So those two books are very different from each other. Pick up the basics one. If you already know the basics, pick up this one. Zero Waste Fashion Design is an excellent book in terms of construction in fashion, sustainable fashion. And it goes into zero waste cutting, which is very interesting. It's a bit more complex. Some are very complex, some are very simple, but it shows really avant-garde cutting techniques that minimize, look at that, it's just one rectangle with some slits cut out and then you get this top. So it's really about minimizing fabric waste in the initial pattern cutting of the garment. Just really brilliant. It has all these examples of different patterns you can create. Really great book. Highly recommend. For sewing, Professional Sewing Techniques for Designers is one of the few books out there that really focuses on for designers and not home sewers, okay? No offense, it's just different. They have a whole chapter on pockets, so you know I love that. But the authors of this book teach at fashion school, so that's their perspective, if you catch my drift. So great book for sewing. It's fat. It's got so much stuff in it. So much stuff. This is my favorite book for draping. It is in the metric system, but it is so worth it because there are so many pictures in this book that I don't think, like, the fact that it's in the metric system is going to be the tiniest hurdle for you to jump over. You're going to be stepping lightly over this hurdle because the hurdle is nothing. Look at all these pictures, and they have basic garments and more advanced garments, and step by step, a photo of every single step. Just a really great book. You know, it definitely has the text. It explains everything. But really, you know, the pictures are the most important part in construction instruction. For fashion illustrators, the Fine Artist Guide to Tools and Materials is a great place to start because it really just talks about just flat out what different things do, what you're looking for when you're shopping, what all these vocabulary words for media and tools are. It's a little bit stiff to flip through, but that's not a big deal at all. But it goes and just shows you what all these different media look like, how to work with this, you know, when you're mixing watercolors, what media do you use? Fantastic. Drawing fashion accessories. It's great for people who want to learn how to do accessories, but it's also really great for just learning how to render textures because it goes over how to render leather, how to render sequins, how to render fur. So if you want a rendering book, I mean, I do rendering videos, but that one is also a great one. So you all know that I do a lot of fashion figure videos on my channel, but if you're looking for someone who teaches slightly differently than I do, and that's fine because different students have different ways of learning. Draw Fashion Now by Daniel Mader is a great book. You know, she focuses more on slightly more realistic proportions, like they're idealized proportions because it's fashion, but it really is more realistic, like these people could actually exist in nature, whereas 10 head people, not so much. And it goes over menswear, women's wear, different poses, illustrating with different media, things like that. She's an excellent illustrator with tons of experience in the industry. This is The Human Figure, an Anatomy for Artists. I'm not going to flip through it much because YouTube's going to ding me for inappropriate content because, you know, it's an anatomy book. So this one is great because it's not overly crazy medical. It's really made for artists, so you don't have to go through like pages and pages of individual muscle striations, but just basically how to draw specific muscle groups. Color theory is important to every designer and artist under the sun. And I have a whole playlist called Color Lessons. But when I was teaching at university, this is the textbook I used to teach from, Designing with Color Concepts and Applications. And this is great because it's light on text, but heavy on examples. And I really love that. And it was very easy to teach from. And I highly recommend it. And that's it for my book recommendations. Please give this video a thumbs up. It really helps my channel out. And share, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Drop me your questions. Leave me requests for future video subjects. And listen, I love you all, but please don't ask me where to buy these books. My viewers are everywhere around the world, and I don't know where to buy books, online or not, everywhere in the world. So I have the titles and authors in the description box. Please just Google those, okay? And that's it. I will see you in the next video.